This podcast is powered by As Always Entertainment. If you enjoy this content, consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/asalways. Other than to support this show for just $1 a month or more, you get access to over 50 exclusive episodes of the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast that release every week the Kill Connor Club podcast isn't on. You also get a week's early access to the Spoilercast show, The Cinema Room, and plenty of cool perks such as being part of polls for future videos on our channels, as well as other early access material. With that said, please enjoy the podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Cinema Room podcast. This is a Spoilercast podcast where we talk movies, video games, and TV show seasons. I am one of your hosts, Tyler, joined as always by James.
As always, how's it going?
Good, mate. Very good. How about you?
I'm fantastic.
That's good. That's very good. Today we are doing a spoilercast for the movie Troy, starring Brad Pitt, Eric Bana, Orlando Bloom, directed by Wolfgang Peterson. So if you haven't seen it, click off this, go watch it, then come back and have a listen and join in the discussion. So we'll be going into full spoilers, our thoughts, and breaking that film down. I'm very excited for this.
Mm-hmm.
James, you hadn't seen it. Like most of the cinema rooms, a movie you hadn't seen that I recommended to you.
That's what this series is, yeah.
Yeah, this whole podcast is pretty much just me being like, you should watch this movie, and let's talk about it. We still need to do Hook. That'll be down the line.
That'll be fun.
Maybe on the Patreon poll, people will suggest it. We'll see what happens.
Please do. I can't wait for that.
So, of course, this podcast is brought to you by the great people at patreon.com/as always. So, to thank our Patreon producers, we have King Richard III, Kassassin, Elstico91, Seth, and Josh Devillier. Thank you for all the support, guys. This podcast comes out a week early on Patreon. So if you like what you're listening to here and you want to hear more, of course, the Kill Connor Club podcast is free to the public as soon as it drops. Most of the time live as well. And this podcast comes out a week early on Patreon. Plus, every week the Kill Connor Club isn't on. There's a Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast, which is exclusive to Patreon. So for just $1 a month, you get a week early to the cinema room and exclusive access to Clubhouse. It's a beautiful deal, and I recommend you go check it out if you haven't already. There's a bunch of perks. Even if you don't do it, go check it out. See if there's something for you there. It's a beautiful thing. And of course, we've got to thank all the sweet vintage lads on the $5 plus credit list. So to thank those guys, we have King Richard III, Kassassin, Elstico91, Seth, Bullsack47, Josh Devillier, TJFL, Damian, Billy the Team Tynamite, Captain Robertson, Tman Travis, KEMOSABE Gamer, Alfie Rodbert, Casey Wood, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Lumistrad, Mario5380, Cap is Worthy, Viridian, Pink Flame 313, ArunWyn, OllieTheDane, Fuck Cuck, Nib, Brendon Overlord, Ravjai, Julie, A.K.A Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, James the Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Zahir the FAT Gamer, Max H. Gene, Zeek Collins, Son of a Bitch, Ogeaidogo, Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Kyle S. Jaws, Kyle Marvel, Captain Change It, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Ginko Swag, Baby Boy, Master Bass, Yazen, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Joe A.K.A FoundedScarab, Page about 12, I got Lumbago, Iron Man's for the dads, Brian Fall, Casper, Milk Boy, Shields, no, not Shields, fuck you, Fishy, Andrew Martinez, and Vernaculars, not changing it.
Change it.
Change it. Definitely change it. Alright, that was a mess. That was a mess. Alright. We're talking about Troy, and I've been nervous.
You've been nervous?
I got home from work on a Friday. We're recording this on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Friday during the day for you. Got home from a long day of work, long week of work.
Yeah.
Sat down, had a couple of red wines, got a beer in my hand now, and I watched Troy, the director's cut. 3 hours. It's about half an hour longer than the original cut, and very different. It's only the second time I've watched the actual extended edition, because I don't have the normal one.
Wait, the extended edition is 3 hours? I thought that was just the normal one.
Oh, maybe it is 3.5 hours. I didn't actually time it. It was very long. Actually, it might be 3.5 hours, or it was like 3 hours 15 or something.
I was going to say, because I didn't think I watched the director's cut.
Yeah, I don't think you did. I'll test you. I don't think you did, but
okay.
It was yeah. So I've been nervous because I rewatched it, and it is still top 5 all-time favorite movies of all time. Okay. I love Troy. The history behind it, the story it's based off, the cast of characters in it. There's so many memorable moments, the dialogue. There's so many amazing battles. It's an achievement in practical effects once again. I love Troy. But I have no idea what you think of it. I know you've watched it, and I always get nervous when I tell you to watch something whether you like it or not. And sometimes it doesn't matter to me. Sometimes it doesn't matter. This one, it's a tougher one because this is one of my favorite all-time movies. Since I saw it at cinemas, and it means a lot to me. But as I built it up like that, I don't know. I don't know what to expect from you. You always surprise me with like things you don't like and do like, to be honest. So,
yeah.
James, with pure hesitation, what did you think of Troy?
When I was watching this with Alfie yesterday, she said on the podcast, you should just tell Tyler you hated it, even if you didn't. And I was considering it. But then I was like, no, I can't do that to you. I can't do it. Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was good. I don't think it was... I mean, you built it up a bit. Like, I was expecting something, like, incredible.
Sure.
Wasn't bad,
I tried not to build it up to you. Though.
It's...
like...
yeah, I mean,
it's hard.
I like everything about it. There wasn't anything, like, disliked, but I just don't think there was anything that stood out as like, wow, this is like incredible. But it wasn't bad. Like I was captivated the whole time. Like although it was 3 hours, it didn't feel like 3 hours. It felt like it I think it was paced pretty well. Characters were all good and well performed. It was a great cast. It looked great, like all of the environments and everything, and all the practical effects and stuff, and the fight scenes and battles and everything. It all looked really good. I just think that overall, I mean, maybe I just don't like the story of Troy. It was just sort of, just fine. Like, it's a fine story. It's not that interesting though. It's not bad either. It's good. Like, it's a good story, but it's not up there with like, oh wow, that's one of my favorite stories.
But the thing about the story is,
I already knew the story though.
True. The story is literally 2,500+ years old. Like, it's not a new modern story that was written based on history. It's based off of Homer's book, The Iliad, one of the oldest books in existence. Obviously, there's definitely creative license to it. In fact, I didn't even know this until just 15 minutes ago when I finished watching it. The screenplay was written by David Benioff.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I did not fucking know that until today. And I was like, holy shit. I guess I've never looked for it, and it's not really a name I recognize, when I originally watched it, obviously. Game of Thrones wasn't around.
No.
But, like, Troy, I think I always loved the history of it, and, like, well, I'll tell you, for me, 2004, this movie came out, I saw it at cinemas. I didn't really know the story of Troy until I saw it at cinemas, right? And I saw it with my mum and dad and my brother, and I just thought it was amazing, because I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings at the time. I just loved sword, big battle movies like that. Like, it was the type of movie I was into. And I was so captivated by the action and the characters and everything like that. And when my mum and dad was like, well, it's based on a real book of supposedly real history, obviously, like in the Iliad and the sequel to it, the Odyssey.
My favorite.
Yeah, of course. In the books itself, there's a lot of actual god moments. Like at the start of the Iliad, Helen of Sparta, Helen of Troy, she is supposed to be the most beautiful woman on earth. And the gods, Paris goes and sees the gods to ask, because he wants the most beautiful woman in the world, and they reveal to him Helen, and that's why he goes after her. It's not quite as romantic in the story itself. It's a lot more old school, I guess, literally like thousands of years old. And there's a lot more mystical stuff to it. Like in the Odyssey, there's like gods show up, mythical creatures show up that Odysseus fights and things like that. Like, because the Odyssey is about Odysseus's like 10-year voyage back to Ithaca from Troy, and all like the shit they run into there and the shit they go through, and and that journey and stuff. And then the Trojan War went for 10 years. Like that war in the movie that happened, like it seems like it's like a couple of weeks, but it actually was 10 years in real history.
Yeah, okay.
But so also there's a lot of other changes in real history that they discover when they redug up the city of Troy. But the interesting thing was, from seeing that movie, when I found out what it was about, I then was like, oh my god, history's cool. Like, I was like, wait, real shit like that happened? And then I just became obsessed with history. My grandfather had actually been to Troy, and he was a historian and wrote lots of articles and a couple of books and things like that. And he would sit me down, and I'd ask him questions, and he'd talk for like hours and hours after school when he was visiting, and just talk to me about anything I wanted to know. And Troy was the first thing that really connected me and him in our love of history. And it's, kept me going till today, and that's I thank my grandfather for that, but I also thank this movie for the reason I love history so much as well. Like, it was the first thing that inspired me to research things and read history was this movie. So it does mean a lot to me, and it's why I built it up, obviously. Same way I built up Lord of the Rings to you.
Yeah, but Lord of the Rings also is really, really good, though. So
true,
I think that's
true.
fair.
Lord of the Rings is better than this. No,
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that as well. But
yeah, I agree.
It's still, I think the fact, I just love thinking about the story, and Troy's place I is a bucket list to go visit, like the ruined city, because I believe, I might be wrong, but they only dug it up 100 or so years ago, and it was based on where Homer said, like, because people are, there's this, it's hard to say what's myth and what's history in those books. Obviously mythical creatures weren't real.
Maybe they were.
But was King Agamemnon a real king, and was Odysseus a real person? Achilles, Hector, and Paris, these princes, who was real and what was myth? Was any of it real? But they were able, based on what Homer described of the location of Troy, they went there and they found it. So, like, that kind of tells you, well, again, it doesn't tell you what characters of the story were real, but it certainly tells you Troy, the kingdom, was a real place. You'd have to think, and they because they dug it up and it was so tiny compared to the story, and then they did like a satellite X-ray, I think, and found out that there's so much of the city that's buried, and there's actually seven layers. So the city was destroyed over 7 times and rebuilt on top of itself.
That's really cool.
So yeah, and I think they were able to, from what they've found, they guessed that the 10-year war with Greece did happen, but it also involved more than the Greek army and the Trojan army. There was supposedly other armies involved as well from other countries. Like, it was a very big war. And it was still a very important strategic place. There's a reason lots of kingdoms wanted Troy. It's because it guarded the entrance from the Aegean Sea to the Black Sea. Like, it was like the harbour, and it was so whenever the trade ships went through, a tax was paid to Troy. So it's a very important strategic and financial place to hold. So that's why it's so valuable, and there's so many wars fought over it. For control and stuff.
That makes sense.
Fun facts for you.
Thank you. I was going to tell someone else that. I'm going to tell someone else that, and they'll be like, "Where'd you learn that?" I'll be like, "I just know these things. It's just what I do.
Know these things.
I just pick up facts from different people and pass them off as my own. It's real great."
Yeah, really great. But yeah, like, this is about the movie. I realize this podcast, but I also love talking about Troy, and I love the history of it.
I mean, it goes hand in hand, history and the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, like, and so the story's, I think very special, and obviously it's a lot of liberties taken, a very romanticized version of it, especially with, Achilles, and in particular, because he's not really a good person necessarily in the different, like, tellings of the story, but also not necessarily bad. It's kind of just like, he is a great warrior hero, the greatest warrior to ever live. And I think what the movie does best is establishing its themes and its character moments through very memorable dialogue. Like, there's not really many movies other than Lord of the Rings and Troy that I think of that when I watch it, I can remember the specific lines, and they, like, in a very important way, I'm like, that's like an important moment. And that's just like, what a well-written, memorable line. And there's so many of them throughout it that I'll sit there of, like, when Achilles and the Myrmidons are charging the beach themselves, 50 men charging the beach of Troy, the greatest soldiers in all of Greece, and he stands there and he's just like, do you know what's waiting beyond that beach? Immortality. Take it, it's yours. Like, it's like things like that that's dropped. The themes of, like, of legend and memory of, like, they'll be talking about this war for 1,000 years. In 1,000 years, the dust from our bones will be gone. Yes, Prince, but our names will remain. Like, that whole theme throughout the movie is so special and so important and so well done in this movie because it's true. Like, their names have lived on for thousands of years. Like, that's why it kind of gives me goosebumps thinking about it in history-wise, in that retelling, the way they tackle that theme. What is to you, like, the best parts of the film? Was it the actors? Was it the effects itself, like the practical effects, the the visuals? Was it the story and themes? Was it... I know the music. I love the soundtrack. I don't know about you, but like it's a special soundtrack.
The soundtrack's very good. Yeah, I think. I think all of the elements work together real well. I think obviously the action stuff was great, but I think like you said, the dialogue stood out to me. I remember as I was watching it, I was like, I mean, obviously it makes sense now, but I thought it was very Game of Thrones-esque, sort of the way that they did bits of politics and the way the characters spoke and the way that all the dialogue did feel meaningful. It wasn't just sort of like dialogue to get you to the next battle or things like that. Like it felt meaningful, whether it was for character development or whether it was to progress the political storyline or whatever that was for. It was done very well, and there was a lot of emotional weight to something. I think that was what I enjoyed most. And then obviously it looks great, like the spectacle and everything. Like it looked really real and really well done, which was great, especially for like a movie that came out such a long time ago. That's weird. 2004. I just said 2004 was such a long time ago. That was really weird.
Yeah. Remember that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back? Like,
oh god. Jesus Christ. But I loved all those elements. I thought it was great.
It is funny for you to say, because even watching it today, I'm like, that movie, that could have been made this year. It really could. Like, the way the effects are done, it doesn't look a day old.
It looks very good. I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't for a lot of it. I mean, there's some moments where it's obvious, but a lot of it is, I don't know what's a practical effect, what's like, visual effects. Like, I couldn't tell. I was like, this is actually done really well. So
I argue this movie with 300 all the time. The reason I hate 300, because 300 came out 2 years after this, and people were talking way more about 300 than this movie. I'm like, that movie looks like a cartoon piece of shit with just goofy, just over the top, ridiculous looking characters in a telling of a real historical moment, like a real important moment in history of like ancient Greece. It was told in the dumbest way by the worst director in the world, and then everyone talked about it like it's the best thing ever.
I've never seen it.
Look at Troy. A retelling of a similar, ancient Greek story, but it's told and filmed as if it really happened. That's what I love so much about this movie, because like you look at the book and there's so much about gods and stuff. They eliminated the fantasy. They talked about it. They used even lines from the book and stuff, especially in the director's cut. Like there's literally specific lines like, well, that's straight out of the book, and I understand why they took it out, because it sounds like they're reading a line from a book. Like, but they tell it in a way of like, they talk about the gods and what they see in all these visions and praying and the way the book does, but the book tells it in a literal way. Well, the gods are characters, whereas this is like, no, if it really happened, if Homer's Iliad is real, how would it have happened in real life? And they film it like it really happened, like you're watching it in a documentary form, because it's almost all practical. The sets were practical. Other than, of course, like the big wide shots where you see like the practical front, and then like they of course construct the behind and the back area in CGI, but the battles were practical, and it's just one of the most incredible films practically that I can remember, and it's just it was very good. Because I remember when you talked about it, I was going to go check the rating of it, and then you were like, no, don't do it, we're just going to watch it. I want to check the rating now. I want to see what it got. I actually didn't check it. I just said don't check it, because I
Okay, let's see what the rating is. Okay, it's got a 56 on Metacritic and a 54 on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's a bit low.
That's low. That's underrated. Very
that's
underrated.
Really strange. I thought,
But to me, it's like if I was giving it like a rating out of 10, it's like a 9.5 for me, or like a 9 at the lowest. Like, IMDb at 7.2. But it's like 92% like this film of Google users. So like, I think it's more of a fan film than a critic film.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like, it has some incredible moments and characters. Like, I think it's Brad Pitt's best role, personally. Like, I've always kind of thought that. Like, because I think Brad Pitt's a hit and miss guy. Like in movies, like he just has some movies I'm like, oh, you kind of just suck. like
what else
not very
has he
good.
Been in? I can't even think off the top of my head.
Oh, everything.
He's been in everything.
He's in so many. Like, Inglourious Basterds is one of those movies I think he's great in,
yeah.
right? But like,
he was in that, wasn't he?
Fight Club and Fury was pretty good. But then he's in things like, he's in Legends of the Fall. That's good. Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Oh,
what an amazing movie. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, World War Z, Moneyball, that's good. Allied.
I'm scrolling through this. Jesus Christ, Brad Pitt.
Hey,
Happy
dude, it's
Feet
Brad
2.
Pitt. It's Brad Pitt. What are you talking about? Why are you surprised?
He was
fucking Brad Pitt.
He was in Happy Feet 2. Who did he play in Happy Feet 2?
Who cares, man?
I do. Will the what is that? Will the Krill. He played a Krill in Happy Feet 2. Bro. Yeah. What were you saying?
Yeah. Okay. Enough about that. What were your kind of favorite standout characters that you liked, and were there any that you weren't so fond of?
I tell you what, I think they were all good in their own way. Like, in terms of, writing, I think they were all good in their own way. I mean, Achilles was a great character. It was always not good to see him on screen doing stuff, because
Hector, I think, was always the standout for me.
Oh yeah, I really liked him as well. I think yeah, it was. I mean, the battle between Hector and Achilles was great. Oh. That was a really, really great fight, and they're really well choreographed. It's just really good to watch, because everything's so, like, it's not. It just feels like real. Everything's really weighty. There's a lot of tension there, and that was good. So yeah, probably Achilles and Hector. Yeah, probably my top two. I think Paris was a bit of a fucking bitch.
Definitely.
Maybe that's the point, but yeah, bit of a bitch.
Kind of supposed to be.
Pissed me off.
It's kind of a redemption thing at the end. Like, that's kind of the point of the end for him. I think is a bit more of a redemption. Like how could you love me if I run now? Like, that whole bit at the end. Yeah, but it's whatever. Hector's always been my favorite. Hector and Achilles were always my favorite characters in the movie. But I always loved Odysseus. Like, Sean Bean playing Odysseus was, very good. Like, what a great choice. I think the whole casting in this is pretty incredible. Yeah, like Agamemnon, so well done. Helen obviously is great. You hate who you're supposed to hate, you love who you're supposed to love. I don't think that you're going to go on that movie and be like, fuck, I hated Hector. Like, he just was, like, annoying. Like, not, like, who the, Yeah, definitely. It's not one of those movies where it's pretty well done, and, like, you're supposed to be annoyed at Paris, because he is kind of a fucking, like, little bitch half the time, and you're supposed to be conflicted about whose side you're on, right? Like, Troy's obviously the good guys in terms of, like, the army, but you're obviously on the side. You're never against Achilles. You're never against the Myrmidons or Odysseus, but you obviously, Agamemnon's the villain. Then the king of Troy, Priam, he's very frustrating in how loyal he is to the gods and doesn't listen to Hector, who's the smartest man in this whole fucking movie. And it's just like, oh God, every time. Yeah. So frustrating so many times. But I'm a huge fan of all the characters. And they're all played very well and given enough time. The only, like, if you're someone that's read the Iliad, there are some characters that aren't, like Ajax, the guy with the hammer. Mm-hmm. He's a big figure in the book, and he's kind of just like, he gets a bit more time in the director's cut. But, they show him to have him in there, but then he's kind of gone pretty early, in that first battle at the city walls of Troy, and Hector fucks him up. But, I mean, he kind of had to be that character that shows how good Hector was and what a leader Hector is. And, this isn't a story about a war. This is a story about heroes in a war. And I think that's, like, the main theme of the story. And another very memorable line is when they're... is Odysseus and Agamemnon arguing about, he needs to apologize to Achilles. And he's like, Achilles is one man. And he said, Hector is one man. Look what he did to us today. Hector fights for his country. Achilles fights only for himself. He's like, I don't care about his allegiance. I care about his ability to win battles. Like, that scene is huge in terms of what the theme of the story is and how important these heroes are to this war. It's Achilles versus Hector in so many ways, and when Hector falls, the war is pretty much over for Troy, because they don't have the brains, they don't have the leadership, they don't have the hero on their side. And the Greeks have Achilles, and that's the war ends when that fight happens. Like, the climax of the movie really is the fight between Hector and Achilles. That's where the war's decided, between the two heroes, not between the two armies, which is a perfect way to do it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
How did you feel about the story then, overall? Like, what did you know about Troy, the story, the legend, and what do you think comparing it to what you saw here?
Yeah, look, I knew, bits and pieces. It was something that, I think I knew. I don't know how I knew it. I guess we did it in school, Learned about it at some point. I don't know why, but, I guess because of, Greek mythology and stuff, whatever. But I guess I knew bits and pieces here and there. I knew all the characters, and obviously they built a big horse and got in that horse. I tell you what was the weirdest thing, because this whole movie is this. It almost felt like I always thought that the horse was the point of the story, that was the big part of the story. But in this movie, it feels it almost feels like it didn't need the horse. It almost feels like they just forced in a horse. It's why. It was so weird because the whole movie is set about this war, but it was how it happened though. It was just all of a sudden Odysseus just looks at a guy who's building a horse for his kid, and he just thinks of the idea. You know what? We could build a massive one and all sit inside it. How did he?
But that is kind of like.
How did he think of that from a little horse? Didn't even have to be. It could have been anything. Didn't have to be a horse. It was just so weird. It just felt like it came out of nowhere. He was just oh, that'd be a great idea, and everyone was like, yeah, that's a fucking great idea. We'll build a massive horse.
But I guess it's in the time, all those things are and they establish it throughout the whole movie. When they sail overseas, they have to have offerings to Poseidon, and when there's always god offerings and things like that. So they just set up a trap so well. And Odysseus was always the silver tongue, the talker. He wasn't a character that was some great warrior. He was a good king and a good man, but most of all, he was a smart man. He established it through convincing Achilles to come to war. He established it through being the voice of reason to Agamemnon. He established it when he has a scene with Achilles, and he talks about why he uses fear. And he's, why he serves Agamemnon. It's Ithaca can't afford an enemy like Agamemnon. And he goes, why do you fear him? He's like, you don't fear anyone, that's your problem. It's actually, a problem for Achilles in a lot of ways was the fact that he feared no one. And I always liked how they did that with Odysseus, I guess. Just, it made sense that, of course, it was his idea for the Trojan horse. It always was. But that's kind of his role. And he's definitely underplayed in this movie compared to most tellings of Troy. But I kind of liked that he was the background, because this movie is, I think, more about the heroes of the war than the story of the war, I think. There's a lot of tellings. You can watch a lot of different movies and shows about Troy in this story. And they're a lot more character-based and war-based, and focus a lot more on the love story of Paris and Helen, which I liked that it was the start, but it wasn't what the story was about. It was just it was the catalyst for it, where so many of these tellings, it's just about Paris and Helen, and then Odysseus is this great mind, and in the background are these two heroes, Hector and Achilles, whereas in this movie they're the two main characters, the two heroes that lead either side of the war. So I don't know, I like the way it's done, but I can see what you mean where the horse kind of comes out of nowhere. But I think the horse, it's not about the horse. The story's never been about the horse. It's just...
That's the only thing I remember is the horse. I always remember the horse.
The Trojan horse.
Everyone knows about the horse.
Everyone knows what a Trojan horse is.
Yeah. Everyone knows. You ask someone, what's the Trojan horse? They'll be like, it's that big horse.
No, it's a battle strategy.
It's a big horse.
Yeah. It's a battle strategy.
It's a big horse.
To infiltrate an enemy stronghold. There's even a mission in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood called the Trojan Horse.
Is it?
Where you all dress up in the French armour.
Is that what it's called? I didn't even know.
Yeah, it's called the Trojan Horse.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah.
Makes sense.
You're welcome. Not even an AC fan. Are you even an AC YouTuber, bro?
No.
What are you doing?
I'm not.
What are you doing? So you were thinking about the horse. That's what you think of the story.
Not necessarily. It's just all I remembered from the story. I didn't. That's not all I remembered. I remembered all the characters. So it was like, oh, I remember that when I saw the characters and they said their names. I'm like, oh, I remember that guy from the story. But also I remember the big horse. That's obviously a highlight
Yeah.
So it was just sort of like came out of nowhere. I was expecting they'd build up to a bit more, like, oh, we've got this idea for a big horse, and we're gonna build a big horse, but it just sort of happened.
Yeah, it's not really the point of the story. What were your thoughts on, if we kind of roll back to the start of the movie, but also the end, I guess, as well? Like, I love the narration they do with Sean Bean.
Yeah.
To kind of start the movie, and the way they tell the story sets up really well. And the opening scene of this battle between the Greeks, and kind of establish who Agamemnon is, and then of course who Achilles is, and the legend he is, and how easily he takes on this massive giant warrior. Like that opening sort of scene. What was your thoughts?
I mean, for a start, the way they do the opening shots and everything of the two armies and stuff looks really fucking good, and that sort of established, like, oh, this movie looks really great. It's really convincing and everything, which was nice. And then you get, obviously, Achilles facing off against that massive dude, which was fucking cool. That was a great moment where he just takes him down with one sort of stab, just does a little Assassin's Creed Odyssey jump and does him in, which was pretty cool.
Well,
I
you know where
the
fucking game got it from, don't you?
It was Troy.
It's literally like Achilles' move in that movie. He does it so many times.
Yeah, he does it all the time. I know. So I'm like, I feel like Ubisoft watched this at least.
Yeah,
once.
I definitely at least. There's so much of this movie, and even like in the game that you get Achilles' armor, it looks so much like Achilles' armor in this movie.
Yeah.
It's way overdone. Of course, they ruin it. They don't make it too simple, but it's like the same exact style of like the in terms of like it cuts off at the shoulders and stuff and all that, but they overdo it obviously because they suck. But yeah,
classic Ubisoft. Yeah, I liked the opening stuff, all the establishing of the characters and everything. It was good. Liked it a lot.
And the kind of scene with Menelaus, Paris, Helen, and Hector in Sparta, like, what did you think of Paris and Helen? Like, what were your kind of vibes with that story?
You know, it was fine. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great though. I wasn't like, you know, I wouldn't have cared if either of them had died, to be honest. You know, I wasn't hugely invested in.
The only two that live.
Like, yeah, I was kind of mad about that, to be honest. They're the only characters that I would have been okay with dying. I think that their love story is sort of just okay. Like, it's not that convincing where I'm like, oh, they look like they're really in love. Because I don't really know what they have in common. It's just sort of like a typical, like, love story of, they're both really attractive. And they're both,
I like
you know,
that it's
love
in
each
the
other.
background. You just kind of, like, a lot of this movie, you're expected to know things. Like, you're like, okay, Paris, Helen, they're in love. Like, they don't, but I like it because for us, this movie will be a fucking love story movie. Like, they're like, they're in love, guys. Just accept it, or else you're gonna have trouble with this movie because we're not gonna spend a lot of time like making you convinced about it. We're gonna spend time on like cool shit, like you know, battles.
Like they've already had that. They've already developed that off screen. It doesn't matter. Like they're already in love. That's fine. Just know that, and that will push the plot forward, which is fine. I didn't need to know. If they'd focused on it, I probably would have fucking hated it. So it's good that it's just sort of in the background. But that being said, also wouldn't care if they both died. Almost sort of hope that they did. Maybe Paris more so. He kind of deserved to die. He's a bit of a bitch. And
he was a bit of a bitch, wasn't he? Yeah. And of course they got Orlando Bloom shooting arrows as usual.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, it's great. I love the and I think it just makes Paris makes Hector look so good, right? Like goes up to him on the ship when he takes Helen. He goes, "Do you love me, brother? Would you protect me against any enemy?" It's like, fuck, here we go. It's like, hey, dude, if I did something bad, would you be mad? Don't be mad at me, but like that's what that was.
Yeah, it was.
Then we get to another great scene, which is the introduction to Odysseus and him going to meet Achilles and convince Achilles to come. And you get a bit of backstory to Achilles. You get introduced to Patroclus, his cousin, and you see what Odysseus is like as a character and that he's respected by someone like Achilles. It tells you a lot about Odysseus. They don't have to spend a lot of time showing how good of a guy Odysseus is. They just kind of, based on, well, Achilles respects him, so you kind of then go, I respect him now. So they do that in a good way. In the director's cut, there's like a scene where they go in Ithaca, where they go and find him, like Agamemnon's men, and he's like up in the hills with the goat herders, dressed like as a goat herder, It's fucking weird. Like, and they go to him like, where's the king? And he's just like, Odysseus, I'd like to punch that guy in the face.
No, that's in the movie. That's in the one I watched.
You watched the director's cut, bro?
There's no way. It didn't. Yeah, it didn't say director's cut.
100% watched it. Hey, in the end of the movie, was there a scene where they look back and see the burn, where Briseis sees the burning city?
Yes.
Not in the original. You watched the extended cut, bro? Yeah. It explains so much. Because the original cut so much better. Is so much better. The original cut is so much better. You definitely watched the director's cut.
How? 100%. All I did was search Troy. It gave me the...
There's no way, man. That is the director's cut. That is not the original.
Let me check here.
I don't remember that being in the original.
Let me check.
Then again, I'm pretty sure I always had like a pirated version as a kid, like the DVD.
Yeah.
So I never know.
Mine was, it's 3 hours and 5 minutes is the one that I watched.
Yeah, mine's I think a bit longer than that, but I don't know. No, I think that's about right.
Let me search Troy runtime. Troy runtime is apparently 3 hours and 16 minutes. What the fuck? So what's the director's cut?
Dude, I don't know, bro.
Troy director's cut runtime is I don't know. It doesn't tell me. Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. Here we go. Theatrical version was 2 hours and 36 minutes. Director's cut is 3 hours and 8 minutes. Oh, so I must have watched the director's cut.
You must have watched the director's cut. God damn it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
I wish you hadn't. I really wish you hadn't watched that because the original is better. Like, there's literally scenes I was watching. I'm like, oh, that's a dumb scene.
What are the scenes that are in this then?
There's so many like dialogue bits. It's like it's done, but they use a clearly more longer cut. Like there's a scene at the start of the movie, right, in the director's cut.
Okay.
The watching it here, I'm like, oh, it kind of ruins the next scene, which is when Hector goes up to Paris, grabs him by the face. It's like, if you, I love you, brother, but if you put Troy in harm, I'll rip your pretty face off your pretty head.
Yeah.
You remember that scene? That's definitely not in the original.
Oh, is it
because
not?
They don't show any of that because it cuts to the next shot where Hector's like suspicious a little bit, but he doesn't know anything. And then the next scene comes up and goes, do you love me, brother? Would you protect me against any enemy? Because they go back to back with those scenes and it doesn't make any sense because Hector just said that he would rip his pretty face off his pretty head and then he just goes... And I was watching, I'm like, that's so dumb. But in the original, they cut that out and it just literally cuts to Hector's suspicious, but he doesn't say anything. And then goes in and does that.
I should have watched the normal one. I had no idea.
I reckon after talking about it, you'll have a little more appreciation for it. Go watch the original cut. I reckon you'll like it way better.
Yeah, I mean, I did think towards the end it dragged out a little bit. Maybe that's because I was watching the longer one.
Yeah, you watched extended. God damn it. Yeah. Yeah, damn it.
I still liked it, though. Still thought it was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. The original cuts, I just think... If anyone watched it for the first time, you'd have to watch the proper cut. You know what I mean? The theatrical cut.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that I never do that.
Yeah.
Seem to always watch the extended ones.
God damn. I'm glad you still liked it, though, because it is... Yeah. I definitely think the theatrical cut's a better cut. Just in terms of, like, definitely condensed. It's only the important bits. They cut off a bit of dialogue bits, but there is a bit more of story. There are some good bits in the director's cut, some extra story explanations and some extra, like, little oomph to it and things like that. Especially at the start, because they changed, like, the opening scene. Like, did they show the map of Troy in the director's cut, like, right at the start?
Yes.
Of Greece and Troy, and then they have, like, 3,200 years ago, and then it opens up and has, like, Odysseus's, like, narration at the start.
Yes.
Is that the same?
Yeah.
Okay, they did do that. Okay, cool. Damn. Okay, didn't realise. Anywho, let's get back to it.
Yeah, let's.
Where were we? Oh, yeah, so we're talking about Odysseus.
Yes.
Because the first scene Odysseus is introduced in the theatrical cut is just, like, him having the spear thrown at the tree by Achilles. Okay. And that's his, like, opening scene. Not some dumb thing where he's like, I'd punch him in the face. Like,
I kind of liked it, though. I kind of liked it. He was just goofing on these two guys for no reason. It was
exactly
great.
The whole scene was for no reason. Yeah.
It's funny. But it sets up that he's a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a troll.
Not well, though. It doesn't do it well.
I guess so. Because it's like, why is he doing that? He's just having a bit of fun. He's just sitting under a tree with a goat. Is it a goat or is it a dog?
It's a dog, because he's like, I'll miss my dog. That's what he says. I'll miss
shit. Okay.
Anyway. When So the legend of Achilles, right, is like he, as a baby by his mother, he was dipped in like some immortal lake, right, like that made him immortal, but he was held by his heel, so that was the only thing that didn't go in the water. Yeah. So it was his only vulnerable place, the Achilles heel. That's
but also
Achilles tendon.
But why is his heel so does that break the spell? Is that what that does? Like in Greek mythology?
In Greek mythology, it's not that it breaks. Like he doesn't die in Greek mythology the same way he dies in this. Like Paris always kills him, but he kills him just by shooting him through the
So that kills him. So he's just got. So not only he's immortal everywhere except for his heel, where it's fatal.
I think you're right in terms of, like, it's not that it breaks the spell, but he's now vulnerable. Like, it's his own vulnerability. So once he's hit there, you know, he can't then just be immortal everywhere. Like, I think it is, like, I don't know if it breaks. I don't really remember Greek mythology.
That makes way more sense than it breaks the spell.
It makes more sense, but I don't know for sure. I couldn't tell you. I don't really remember the Greek mythology. I just know this movie, they don't even talk about it. No. It's not even in Greek mythology. It's just like, this is what I love about this movie is, it's not trying to tell the story of the book. It's been like, okay, if the book is true, how would it have really happened to make the book then be written about it?
Yes.
Like it tells the film like it happened before the book was written. Because like, it's like, okay, Achilles, there was no talk about his heel being dipped in or like his heel's vulnerable. The talk was just his mother's a immortal goddess. He's the greatest warrior the world's ever seen. He can't be killed, but he can. And it just so happened that when he was shot in the heel.
That was kind of funny though, because without the mythology or fantasy there, it's just really funny that he got shot in the heel. Like what a shot that was. That's really
good
funny
shot. And then he gets shot in like the chest and everything. But like when he's just found, like he takes it all out. But when he's found, it's just the heel shot. So then you'd think, if people were going to retell the story person to person to person, eventually it gets to the point where people are talking about. They're like, well, he was only vulnerable in the heel. Why was he only vulnerable in the heel? Well, when he was, he was actually immortal, but he was held by the heel. Like people would make up stories based on what happened. Sense. Like. Yeah, exactly. So this doesn't try to tell the story of the book. It tries to tell the story before the book, which I always admired about the movie, and it always stood out to me. It's why I always loved it. Yeah, another reason, the many reasons I love that. But also the fact that like it was also love that kind of caused it as well, like the distraction, him not being focused on on the war anymore. And like you said to Briseis, she gave him peace in a lifetime of war. A lot of good fucking dialogue in this, man. A lot of good fucking dialogue.
There is, yeah.
Even like, there's so many of those politics scenes right in the throne room in Troy, where like Hector's the only one that makes any fucking sense. He's just like, what? Yeah. How many battalions does the sun god command? Do not mock the gods. Like, fuck you. I'm the one that wins wars. What do you say to Priam? He goes, with all due respect, father, you're not going to be the one fighting. It's like, fucking true, bro.
That was good. Yeah. That was good. Yeah. I hate as well, with regards to the gods as well, there were so many times when there just happened to be like coincidences, and they'd use that to back up, like, it's the gods are washing down us. Whenever anyone said something smart,
it's like real life. It was
so annoying. It was so annoying. It really pissed me off. Where they're like, but he mocked the gods and then he died right after. We can't let that happen again. He's like, for fuck's sake, that was a coincidence, you dickhead.
Yeah. Yeah, and he only died because of all the dumb shit you made him do because you're bringing up the god shit. He only died because he killed... Actually, this is a scene I want to bring up. He only died because he killed Patroclus, and he only went on that attack because you motherfuckers told him to, and he advised against it. He's like, if they want to attack us, they'll lose every time. Let them attack. Let them come and try to attack us.
Yeah, that's true.
But if we go to them, we'll unite their forces, things are going to change, and it did that. Hector died, and once Hector died, the war was over for the Trojans. Now, that scene where, after that first battle, and of course, like Odysseus being like... On the Greek side, makes sense. You hear him go. He's like, our men are too close to the walls, and then it comes to Achilles, and he's like, "Pull back, you fools!" I know this movie too fucking well, and like get the men back in the lines and all this sort of stuff. Like that first battle was just like all Trojans, and you're just like, "Fuck yeah, Troy wins." You're all pumped up about it. It was a clear good guy versus bad guy army, right? Because Achilles isn't even in the Greek army. It's just like the fuckwit Greeks fighting the Trojans. And then you get that next battle where the Trojans attack. Hector didn't want to, and from what you think is Achilles in the moment and come and fight. Now, did you think that was Patroclus the whole time, or were you surprised?
In that scene when he's charging up, were you like, "Oh, there's Achilles"? Yeah, I did think it was Achilles. Until the point where he died, and then I was like, it's not. It's obviously not, though.
Yeah. So, but when, what did you have that moment where you're like, when he got like his throat slit, or were you just like,
I was shocked at first. I was like, oh shit, and then I was like, but that's obviously not him. Like, it can't be. It obviously can't be him.
Yeah, of course. Like, but you had a second there. You had that 1 second of like, you turn to Elvie, you're like, oh shit. And then like, oh wait.
Yeah, and then you're like, nah, it can't be. It can't be him.
Yeah, of course.
And I was right. It wasn't.
Yeah. I think even as a kid watching it for the first time, as soon as like he got his throat slit, I was like, oh shit, it's Patroclus. Like, I was like straight away. Because I think they clearly used like either a body double of Brad Pitt, because they tried to make it look like Brad Pitt. It wasn't the guy that paid Patroclus until he got his throat slit. Then like you look at his physique when he's falling down, it's like, oh, okay, that's obviously not, Brad Pitt. Then he takes the helmet off and, it's like, it was his cousin. It's like, well, fuck. And from that point, Hector knows, he's like, well, the war's over. We're fucked. Like, and, Hector's like ironically, he's the Ned Stark, the honorable man, and he knew he would have to go out there and fight Achilles, and he showed his wife the secret passageway out, and that then led us to the battle, the climax of the movie, which is the fight between Achilles and Hector, which such a fucking good scene.
It's very good.
What were your thoughts, feelings during that climactic fight?
It was very tense, although I was pretty certain that Achilles was going to win. I was like,
but you weren't 100% sure.
I wasn't sure. I was like, there's a chance here, but also it's kind of got to be. It's kind of got to be.
They set it up pretty obviously, like Hector saying goodbye to everyone.
It was very well set up that it was obviously going to be Achilles, but at the same time, I was like, well, maybe not. Maybe he'll pull through. But yeah, at the end it was obvious. I was like, it was obviously going to be Achilles, but it's so well choreographed and so well performed. Like, it just looks so great. Like, it's so captivating to watch. A lot of action movies and things, they get that sort of wrong. But it was just done so well. It's just really good to watch. It was the same with all of the combat in the movie. But that one in particular was really good because they're both, the most skilled of their respective armies. So it was great. And
Achilles even said Achilles is described as the greatest warrior. Like, another great line of dialogue is early on when Agamemnon is talking about going to Troy to conquer it with one of his advisors, and they're talking about, you need Achilles, and he goes, Achilles won't fight for me. We don't, and all that shit. And he goes, this will be the greatest war the world has ever seen. We need the greatest warrior. And that was a line I remember being in the trailer for the movie. Like, I would see on TV, and that was that line. It was, we need the greatest warrior. And
that's a good line.
Yeah, and it is. It's fucking awesome. It's a great trailer line. There's so many lines you can put in a trailer, to be honest. Like, every scene has, like, an iconic line that you're like, I'd chuck that in a trailer and it would sell the shit out of this movie. And you then get Achilles saying after he kills Hector, like, he's the best man I've ever fought. And that then says a lot about Hector as well, and it puts a lot of impact on that fight scene as well. Like, it wasn't just, it's established Achilles is the greatest warrior the world has ever seen, and then you've got Hector, who's the best man he's ever fought. Second best, and probably the best mortal man if you look at it mythologically. Hector's the greatest mortal warrior that ever lived in his time. Achilles being, like a half god, I guess, a demigod of some sort, mythologically speaking.
No.
But then again, what does he say what does Achilles say in the movie? He goes, it's like, they say you can't be killed. He's like, I wouldn't be bothering with a shield then, would I? It's like, yeah, fair. Fair enough. But then when it goes into that battle, Achilles wins, and then he ties Hector up and drags him through the sand. How are you feeling? Were you just like, oh, fuck?
Yeah, it's pretty
bummed.
It's pretty heavy. Pretty
heavy.
Yeah. Poor Hector.
And he fucking stares up at Priam who passes out like a retard.
That was really funny.
Also, I laughed at that and I said, I really hope James doesn't watch the director's cut because then he'll see that bullshit.
Oh, is that
scene,
in the director's cut?
No, it's not.
Oh, wow, it's not in the original.
In the original.
Okay.
Yeah, this to me, honestly, all of the dumb shit was only in the director's cut. Like the director's cut definitely added some cool stuff, heaps of cool stuff. But like, if there's any shit that I was like, oh, that's stupid.
Why did
that
they
was
add
only in the
that?
director's
That's
cut.
so weird.
Yeah,
the director was like, yeah, this needs to be in. That adds a lot to the movie. Like, it just made him look like a fucking idiot. It was
so
dumb.
dramatic. So dramatic, yeah. I really wish you watched the theatrical cut. It would have been so much fucking better. You would have been sitting here like, yeah, that was really great. It was a tight film, like, really enjoyed it. But you're like, no, it was really good. But, like, yeah, I mean, you know, there was things I didn't like. And it's like, no, the things you didn't like were fucking dumb additions in the extended director's cut.
I'll have to watch the original at some point.
Priam fucking passing out so dramatic,
It's
huh?
so funny and it's so sudden. Like, he's like fine, then all of a sudden he's like, oh, and just falls over. It's so funny.
It's so fucking dumb. And I love we're in that fight scene because I'm watching it while we're talking about it. Achilles does his like classic jump, but he doesn't get it. Like he hits Hector's shield.
Yeah.
Like he does that jump up and stab.
That looked like something right out of Odyssey. I'm just putting that out there.
No, Odyssey looks like something right out of Troy.
Yeah. You're right. But it's a specific screenshot that I remember. It looks just it's with a spear as well. So it's exactly the same. The more I think about it, the more they clearly took inspiration from this movie.
Yeah, oh, for sure. It's one of the you know, if you're gonna take inspiration from movies to build like an ancient Greece game, you're probably gonna go like Gladiator and Troy. They're the two, you know, you'd go to.
And 300 for your epic Spartan kick.
Oh, god damn it, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the 300 of video games. Like, just so overhyped, ridiculous, and actually the worst.
Actually the worst.
It's like the worst piece of shit film ever, but for some reason, there's so many retards out there that just love it. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that's 300 to me, and that is also Assassin's Creed Odyssey to me.
The same, yeah.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
It's so much of the same.
Actually,
made by a terrible director, made by a terrible team.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's all kind of like, you know...
Exactly.
Kind of combines.
Yeah.
Whereas you got Troy, written by the Game of Thrones, one of the Game of Thrones writers.
Yeah.
And directed by Wolfgang Peterson, who's a fucking champion.
Yeah, it's a much better movie.
Better
I've never
cast.
seen 300, but also it's probably a better movie. I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder and what. You know,
oh god,
what he does,
so dumb. Like the the Persian king in 300 is like, it's so fucking stupid. Hang on. I can't even go from watching a scene in Troy, just so well made, practical. The costumes are incredible. The sets are incredible. The combat's incredible. The way it's filmed is like they've just put a camera and filmed a real life thing happening. But then you go 300, King of Persia, and then you watch like one of his scenes is like literally.
Oh my god! Why does he look like that then? Watch this.
I'm gonna send this to you on Facebook.
Okay.
So fucking stupid. It's the worst movie. Such a fucking terrible
movie. The color grading is fucking disgusting.
I know!
Is so bad. Why do people like this?
I don't know, man.
It's so dark. It's so dark and gritty. It looks real.
It's so epic. It's
because real life is so dark and gritty. Why is this fucking like dust everywhere? It looks like the Assassin's Creed movie.
Look at the hang on. Tell me when you're starting this.
Okay, hold on. Let me just get this up.
Skip to 15 seconds. Go to 15 seconds.
Alright, hang on. Give me a sec. Facebook's being real laggy.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Right, click the link.
Obviously, people aren't seeing this on the audio podcast or even video. But it just looks like a 300 Leonidas versus Xerxes scene. 5 million views.
Oh, that's too many views. 15 seconds, you said. Okay, hold up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm at 15 seconds.
The worst fucking movie. Okay, play. 3, 2, 1, now. And just look how ridiculous the costumes are. He's got no shirt on. He's wearing a red cape.
Oh, look at the CGI of those rocks.
Yeah. Zack Snyder can't even do practical effects on rocks. Look at Prince Xerxes. Look, King Xerxes, whatever the fuck his name is. Look at Xerxes. He's wearing underwear and then just jewelry.
Look at all those chains and rings and what the fuck?
He's like the gay Darth Vader. It's like, let's make Darth Vader the biggest homo in the world. You get this guy.
Why is he so big?
He's just a 7 foot tall, like, straight out of a Persian nightclub. Straight out of a Persian nightclub. And, like, look at his throne. Like, he's just got a bunch of dudes carrying literally a house around.
That's not real, is it? That's not like that's all. He didn't actually have that in real life.
No, of course he didn't. This is just a dumb movie. Of course he didn't. None of this is real. None of this really happened. This is just a stupid movie.
It looks so fucking weird.
Yeah, like literally.
Why does the color look like that? Like that shot
Zack
of
Snyder
like the
filmed
rocks.
this movie like the pitch for Zack Snyder making this movie is like, guys, the budget will be so cheap, we're not going to do anything practically. This entire film will be done on green screen. The floor will be green screen. The walls will be green screen. Everything will be green screen, done in post. It'll be the easiest film you've ever made. Even the costumes, they'll be green screened.
Why does he make all his movies look so dark? Like it's not. It's like he just turns the contrast up a fucking load, and it's so like it's all brown and like orange. Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
God.
And just look at like the acting in it's so bad too. Yeah. It's a horrible movie.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done with this. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
What's the rating for 300?
Bet it's better
really
than Troy.
high.
Bet you anything it's better than Troy.
It's lower on Metacritic. Metacritic's got it at 52. Rotten Tomatoes is at 60.
84% of people like this film.
That's less.
So it's less of a user rating. Box office less than Troy as well.
Yeah, that's weird though, because I've never really heard anything about Troy. That makes me feel better. But everyone talks about this movie. Like, it's amazing. Yeah.
Troy is way better than this movie. And I think you already know that. I think you can already say that safely from what you've seen.
Yeah, this movie is clearly not for me. Just from looking at screenshots. No, don't like it.
Yeah, no, of course. It's a horrible movie.
It's like someone's really, really over-edited like a video game faux mode picture. It's ridiculous. I fucking hate how it looks. It infuriates me. I
forgot they did a sequel to 300 too.
Really? What's it called? 301?
Rise. It's called Rise of an Empire. That's what it's called. Hey man, because obviously it's called Rise of an Empire, huh? You know what I mean? That's what it's called though. You know what I mean? Obviously, because what else would it be called?
What's that one about? Because why is it? Because isn't it called 300 because of the history?
300 Sponge, yeah. I think it's just like what happens after the war after.
Oh, Cersei Lannister is in this.
Yeah, she's Leonidas' wife.
Okay.
And she gets raped in the movie by some Greek dude. Yeah, and then she stabs him in a courtroom.
Well, that's good. Wait, in this movie or in the other one?
In the original. In 300.
Okay, I was gonna say, why did you watch the sequel?
I never seen the sequel.
You didn't. No. You watched the original though.
Yeah, I did. Well, I mean, of course, because it was big. It was so big, and I thought this is a movie I'd like. You know, it's about Spartans and warrior. And then I watch it, I'm like, I fucking hate the movie.
You hadn't yet realized you didn't like Zack Snyder.
No, it was 2006, bro. I didn't know. It was the first Zack Snyder movie I ever saw. This was the movie I realized I hated Zack Snyder. This was the movie.
What else came out before this? What has Zack Snyder done before 300?
I don't know.
No, neither do I. Nothing. Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
That's it.
Fuck Zack Snyder.
That's it. That's actually it.
Yeah. Doesn't matter though, does it?
No.
300 Rise of an Empire.
Rise of an Empire.
Rise. Oh my god.
They should have done a Troy 2. Called it. I don't know, because all the characters are dead, so I don't really know.
Yeah, everyone's dead.
Like,
it would just...
Helen and Paris. Oh, that sounds awful. It could be like a sitcom or something. Like a rom-com.
Just make The Odyssey, where Odysseus is traveling back from...
Yeah, you could. Oh, that's a question. Yeah. Why the fuck is Assassin's Creed called Odyssey if it's got nothing to do with the Odyssey?
Well, because they're trying to play off that. Like, they're trying to play it off.
So, just because it's set in Greece?
Yes, correct.
That's it. That's the only... Yeah. So it's really got nothing to do with it. They're just like... There's that famous book, and it was called that. And that was set in Greece. So the
most famous ancient Greek story of all time, Homer's Odyssey.
That's so dumb, though. They should have called it something else because it's got.
That is the reason they called it Odyssey, and they even shoehorn it in. Kefalonia is where you start off, right? That's the start off like island in Odyssey, because across from it's Ithaca, where Odysseus was king, and like you go to one of the first missions is you go to Odysseus's castle and get like a scroll or something there. Like that's one of the start missions. Yeah,
I didn't fucking know that.
Yeah, that's at the start of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Then they can justify its name.
So fucking dumb.
No, it's not the Odyssey. It's your Odyssey. There's a difference, James.
Of course. This has been an Odyssey I won't forget. An Odyssey. It's not the Odyssey. It's just an Odyssey.
An Odyssey. Yeah.
It's just an Odyssey. Any old Odyssey.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a fucking shame.
Of course, we started talking about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard when we're kind of doing a movie that's a bit
kind of related. A little bit.
Yeah,
not really at all. It's not really related at all. Just in name.
Yeah. Sort of. And you did ask the question, to be fair.
Yeah, true. I am an AC YouTuber. I can't help it.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's all right. I'll get us back on track.
Great.
So to kind of round off, we get to the end. The Trojan horse is placed in. They fucking get out, and the Greek army gets into the city. Now, one thing I did notice in the director's cut that I was like, fucking hell. And obviously you saw this, but again, not in the theatrical version. It's so graphic. The raping and the throwing of babies and shit. Like,
oh yeah, that was great. I mean, it was awful. I mean, it was awful. But like, I like things being, immersive. As immersive as possible. It feels like I'm there.
Very realistic.
It's good. It's why I like Game of Thrones, because they don't pull any punches. They're like, look at this guy's head getting cut off. Look at this woman getting raped. Like, I hate it all. Obviously, don't like it, but like, I like it because it's real.
And in the battle, you got Ned Stark kills Lord Commander Mormont.
Yeah, yeah, that was great. I mean, it was fantastic.
And then you got fucking Agamemnon, who stabs Priam through the back with a spear. It was like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah, I kind of loved it, to be honest.
Did you?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't like. Look, I don't really like either of them, but Priam is a bit of a bitch.
Like, you like Priam because it's like he's a good king and he's a good man, but he's just a fucking idiot.
He's also and it was a bit creepy with Helen. Like, I don't know if that was just the weird directing of it or like, but it came off a bit.
I don't think it was creepy. That's just I don't think it's creepy because that's just who he is. Like, that's the tradition.
I don't think it was meant to be at all, and I think it was because it was that was what it was like back in the day. But it just I couldn't help but feel it a little bit. I was like, I don't think anyone in this scene is meant to be uncomfortable. It's just pretty normal. But to me, I was like, that's a bit weird, a little bit weird. I don't know how I'd feel about that. But I also don't live in like 2000 BC or whatever the fuck it was. So
Yeah.
But I don't know. I liked him, but also didn't like him, and I was kind of like, I kind of liked him dying. If anyone else had killed him, I might have been a bit more happy. But maybe.
But you did then get where Briseis gets to stab Agamemnon in the neck with a knife.
Yes, that was really cool. That was great. I liked that a lot. Because at first I was like, oh shit, Achilles is gonna come and save her and do him in. But I kind of liked that it was her. It was kind of good. It was like, that was fucking cool. Because he wasn't expecting it. And that was great.
Oh, for sure. And I love Rose Byrne. She's a great actress. So I love Briseis. She's one of the better female characters that wasn't totally fucking annoying.
Yeah. What are the female characters were there? There was like 2. No, 3. There was 3.
There's Helen. Then there's Hector's wife, whatever her name is.
Yeah, no idea.
Knows. And then you got Briseis. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that was it. Those 3.
And then all the screaming widows.
Yeah, and all the women that get raped. Yeah, they're in the middle of battle and they're like, "Oh, I tell you what, fuck this, I'm gonna rape some bitches." That's I can respect a man that. No, wait, hang on. I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know where I was going with that.
I know. I know. You were going with a joke somewhere there, and you didn't find it. No, I
didn't find it.
I appreciate that you tried to find a joke out of that disgusting thing, but also
out of that disgusting thing.
But also stop. Yeah,
it's true. I also found it interesting that as well as like these soldiers, I don't think that none of them cared about what they were fighting for. They just wanted to rape and they wanted to steal. Like I noticed, I was wondering. They go into this like building and there's loads of treasures and they start picking them up. I'm like, where are they putting those? Like, there's some big vases and like big
They'll
trinkets.
put them in like bags. They'll just have bags and shit. They'll put them in and take.
Did they have bags? It didn't look like they happened.
Well, it would have been like it's not like backpacks. It would have been like just like
a sack.
wheat bags, like a sack.
Yeah,
Or something.
but I couldn't see it.
I'm sure there's fucking sacks around, bro.
They're just carrying the
man.
sacks up, but they were still mid-battle. Like, what if someone came up and tried to stab you? You'd be fucking dead. They're
Nah,
idiots.
man. They would just try to fucking escape, sell the treasure, buy a ship, go back home. You know, you got fucking buy 6 goats and be like, "We've made it, honey. We've made it.
I did all this to buy 6 goats.
I have a ship and 6 goats. I only raped 3 women. Like, you know,
I only raped 3. Honey, please come back.
I killed 7 babies. I threw them from towers. I have 6.
Fucked.
I have 6 goats.
They
Like,
killed
that's
so many babies. So many babies.
It was tough. It was tough to watch.
It was a shock, but I was like, I'm glad they did it though. It was, it was intense. I was like, fuck, this is crazy. If they hadn't killed the babies, I would have been like.
And you're telling me you
just
didn't
another
love this movie?
normal
Like,
battle.
this movie does realism to another level.
Yeah, I like
they
it.
They go all for it.
I like it. They talk shit about women as well. Like, I mean, I respect women. It's 2019, but back then they talked a lot of shit about women. So that was good. When they're like bloody rape them, and I don't know if they said that. I think I made that up. But it was good. It was just very historically. I mean, I assume it was. I wasn't there, but it feels historically accurate, where everything's really aggressive.
Like,
and,
it felt real. It felt real. You're
yeah,
watching it like, oh, this feels
good.
like it's really like, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like all Hollywood's version of what history was like. It was real history. And that was good stuff.
Well, I'm telling you, man. If you get a hold of the theatrical cut after our conversation, you wait a couple of weeks and watch it. I think you'll love the movie. I really think you'll love the movie. Theatrical cut's way cleaner, way more condensed film, and I think you'll appreciate the movie more letting it sit a bit and talking about it, because I think it is there are always those movies I think that kind of get better with time, and you rewatch me like, man, I really enjoyed it the second time around. Like,
yeah,
here's some. I reckon I liked Endgame better the second time around. I obviously loved it the first time, but Star Wars Force Awakens I love better the second time. Like, there's big movies that you watch, I think, where there's a lot of characters and a lot happen, and you need to watch it again to kind of, like Game of Thrones as well. That's a show, like, I feel like watching it the second time was better.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The first season's not like, later.
Yeah, I mean, I love Game of Thrones first time around. Yeah, but probably did appreciate it more the second time I watched it through, though.
It's not that you'll like it more, but you'll appreciate things more.
Yeah, you notice little things. You're like, oh, I really love all of these things. Like, because especially when you know a moment's coming, you're like, oh, that's a really fucking good moment, and I've hyped myself up for it, and it delivered.
Yeah.
And that's great. No, I do really like this movie. I think I like it more after doing this podcast.
I knew you would. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I always liked it though. Like, after watching, I was like, yeah, that was good. Like, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I think I enjoy it more now. So I will watch the theatrical cut though. I'll have to do that at some point.
Yeah.
If I
There's
can find
not so many silly things that I was like, if James saw that, he'd laugh, and fucking did see it. Like, as soon as I saw Priam faint, I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh no,
like,
he needs to faint in the theatrical cut. No, I need that. That's a great moment.
Dumb.
The whole movie could be Priam fainting. It's incredible. I love it.
So dumb.
It's funny because he always looks like he's about to faint. So when he did it, I was like, yeah, that seems about right. And it's funnier as well because he's also the food critic from Ratatouille, the dude that plays him. So that was insane. Once I realised,
don't bring up Ratatouille to me. Don't.
Oh yeah, you hate it, don't you? You hate it.
Don't bring up that fucking bullshit movie to me.
That's fine. Remy's a sweet
boy. We're film connoisseurs here. We're not fucking.
We're film connoisseurs, so we love Ratatouille.
No,
just
that's
like
not
Priam
what that
was a
means.
food connoisseur in Ratatouille.
Shut the fuck up.
It's incredible. He eats the rat's ratatouille and it takes him back to his childhood. And he's like, wow, this is the first positive review I've written in years. I feel like that's me. I'm going to have something 11 and everyone will be like, whoa, he's positive again. That's crazy. I'm like Priam.
Righto, mate. Fucking righto. Whatever you say.
Thanks.
Whatever you say. But we get to the end part where Achilles is killed by Paris. And Briseis and Paris and Helen and Hector's wife, whatever the fuck her name is, escape the city. And you have that scene where Odysseus is burning Achilles' body at the end. And you have in the director's cut and on the original cut where you see them in the hills, in the mountains. And Briseis looks back at Troy and you just see one cloud of smoke rising from where they're burning Achilles' body. And she just has that moment. And it's like, That's my favorite addition to the director's cut.
Where does it end in the
I always
novel,
wondered
then?
what it looked... They don't never show where they get out. They just... It ends... so you have the scene where the shot rises up as Achilles dies and Paris drags Briseis and they go through that hallway and then all the soldiers come and see Achilles' body, right?
Yeah.
And then it just crossfades to Odysseus going to the pyre and lighting Achilles. And then he just says, let them say I lived in the time of Hector, tamer of horses. Let them say I lived in the time of Achilles. And that's the end.
Ah.
So you know they get out, but you don't see how or what. And then that's the end. Like, it doesn't give you too much. Like, you never saw them outside the city. You just saw like, well, I think they got out. And that's it. I always loved that. Okay. I did like that I got to see that they got out, but like, didn't need it. But it's the ending's still the same. Like the last shot is, let them say I lived in the time of Achilles, and then that's the end. Beautiful. Like I get goosebumps every time I watch that. Yeah. Like last line.
That is it's good. Some good dialogue. Like most of the movie. What happens to all of the characters? Do we know what happens to them after? Where the people that lived in Troy go?
None of them. You never know.
Where do you think they went?
Well, in real history, I'm pretty sure they just all died.
What, in the fucking desert? Or
yeah, probably. I don't know. Who knows? They spread out. I mean, there's no Trojans after when Troy was rebuilt so many times, but when Troy finally did fall, that was it. It was gone forever, and it was lost for millennia. It wasn't until 100. How many years ago that Troy was recovered? When was Troy discovered? 1870.
Ooh.
Northwestern Turkey, Heinrich Schliemann excavated the site believed to be Troy in 1870. Schliemann was a German adventurer and conman who took sole credit for the discovery even though he was digging at the site called Heysalik at the behest of British archaeologist Frank... let's click on that fucking shit. Now presumed to be the site of Troy, along with the Messenian sites. So there's all these different sites there because obviously there's different layers to the city. Mm-hmm. He was an advocate for the works of Homer and archaeology. Okay. Yeah, so 1870.
Okay, it's like 150 years ago.
Yeah, was when it was rediscovered.
God, it is nearly 150 years ago. What the fuck? Yeah, that's crazy. The 1870 is 150 years ago. That's weird.
Yeah, it is.
I remember 1870 like it was yesterday. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago. That's mad.
Yeah, well, you can, go visit Troy. It's a real place you can visit.
I'll have to go.
Yeah, it's been on my bucket list forever. When I do my next Europe trip, like I was always planning on, my priority was to go to Turkey, see Istanbul, and then go to Troy, which isn't far away. And then see Gallipoli, which is hugely the most important historical site in Australian history that's not in Australia, where the Anzacs landed in World War I in 1915.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big... Yeah.
Interesting.
And where we lost, tens of thousands of Australians. Killed tens of thousands more Turkish people, but,
Great. That's good. I've Googled Troy in real life. It looks like a bunch of bricks.
Yep, sure does.
Not much there.
Well, I've been to Pompeii.
Yeah.
And Troy's even older than that. Like another 1,000 years older than that. More so. Mm-hmm. So I'm surprised that it's still... And Pompeii is crazy how much is still standing. But I think seeing Troy will be even more ridiculous because it's almost... You look at Pompeii, right? I've walked around that ancient city and it's like, wow, this so much of this city still standing. It's enormous. But then you look at Troy and like, wow, this is almost twice the age between now to Pompeii, which is in AD, and then you got Troy, which is like 3,200 years ago. Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot of it still standing, and most of it hasn't even been dug up though. Like, you got to understand that most of the city of Troy is still underground.
Mm.
They know it's there. They've done like satellite X-rays of the ground, but they haven't dug it all up.
That's crazy. They better do that. Get on that. Dig it up.
No, you gotta preserve things.
Dig it up. Get a drill.
But the Temple of Apollo on the beach, that was recovered as well and dug up. That's a real place.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the movie did a really good job of like focusing on like the landscape and the realism of it, of the story and everything. I love the film, love the history of it. One of my all-time favorite like movies, one of my, if not favorite, historical events and stories, and something right at the top of my bucket list to go and visit the ancient city of Troy. So yeah, overall, James, how you feeling about Troy?
Yeah, loved it. Good movie. Go see it. Go see it at the cinema.
Go see it.
Go find it somewhere. Give it a watch.
I'm so happy you liked it. I was so nervous, man. Like, I was like, God, this is such a good movie. I really hope you liked it.
It's good. It's good. I liked it probably more than, I don't know. It was probably my favorite one that you've probably shown me.
Recommended.
Yeah.
Really?
Because I like history. I like, that sort of, that's my thing. I like that stuff. So that's good. Like it. Good.
I'm really happy with that. I'm happy with that. I didn't expect you to like it as much as I liked it. I don't think it's possible, but it's good that you loved it. All right. Let's wrap this motherfucker up, James.
Brilliant.
Do you want to read that Patreon list?
I do. I'd love to. It'd be my honor. Thanks. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening to this episode of the Cinema Room. To thank our Patreon producers, we've got King Richard III, Kassassin, Elstico91, Seth, and Josh Devillier. This podcast is a week's early access over on patreon.com/as always. So if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever it might be, and you want to get this a week early, or you just want to help support us to get access to this a week early, but also exclusive access to the Clubhouse podcast, which is the best podcast, and that's exclusive to patreon.com/as always. Go check it out. The link's in the description, or head over to patreon.com/as always if you're listening on podcast services.
Hopefully it won't be so grumpy next week.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. But it was also great. It was also a great one, so...
Yeah, it was.
Maybe give that a listen. The Grumpy Gay podcast. It'll be great. But yeah, that's that. And go and check that out. See if there's anything you want to pledge, if you'd like any of the rewards. And to thank everyone from the $5 tier up, we've got King Richard III, Kassassin, Elstico91, Seth, Bullsack47, Josh Devillier, TJFL, Damian, Billy the Team Tynamite, Captain Robertson, Tman or Travis, KEMOSABE, Gamer, Alfie Rodbert, Casey Wood, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Lumistrad, Mary5380, Cap is Worthy, Viridian, Pink Flame 313, ArunWyn, OllieTheDane, Fat Fuck Cuck, Neeb, Brendon BQ Overlord, Ravjai, Julie, A.K.A Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, James and Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Zahir the FAT Gamer, Max H, Gene, Zeek Collins, Son of a Bitch Ogeaidogo, Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Kyle, S. Kyle Marvel, Captain C, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Ginko Swag, Baby Boy, Master Bass, Yazen, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Joe, A.K.A FoundedScarab, H+12 like Goblin Bago, I'm Mans for the Dads, Brian Ford, Cashbutt, Milk Boy, Shields, no, fuck, Ethan or Fishy, Andrew and Fernacler's not changing it. Thank you all so much for your continued support here on patreon.com/as always. That was Troy, the Troy Cinema Room. Hope you enjoyed. Anything else to say?
No. I hope you motherfuckers all loved it as much as I loved it.
What do we do next time?
Let me know if you haven't seen the movie, what your thoughts are in the comments.
Yeah, do that.
Well, like, if you hadn't seen the movie up until this podcast, obviously, that we recommended, the next movie will be decided by Patreon. So I don't know yet.
Okay. Fun.
If we can influence it all, please vote for Hook. I'd love to do Hook.
Everyone just comment Hook on the next on the next thing.
Yeah, ultimately we decide, because the Patreon suggestion sucked last time. We just did Aladdin anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for your contributions. Like
Is there any movies coming out in the next? Because Spider-Man's soon. That'll be like the one after this next one.
I'm sure there's a movie coming out, but I don't know if there's any big
Spider-Man's not the next episode. It'll be the one after, Far From Home.
Oh, will it? Is it that close?
Man. Yeah, dude.
Out, what is it?
It's
7th
pretty close.
of July?
Yeah, 6th in Australia, the Monday.
Oh, wow.
I think so. It's definitely the 6th in Australia, but I just mean, like, I think it's the next one after, like, the next one.
So we got, so this was going on the 16th and the 23rd. And yeah, it is. It is so it's not the next one, but the one after. Yeah, will be Spider-Man. That's pretty epic.
Oh my god.
I can't wait.
Oh my god. I'm excited. Another MCU film to add to the collection. So the next episode we'll do Hopefully Hook, but Patreon will decide.
Oh, man. Please.
There's nothing else good. There's nothing else good coming out, is there, at cinemas before Far From Home?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything. I have absolutely no idea. The Secret Life of Pets 2.
X-Men Dark Phoenix. I would rather kill myself.
No.
Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4.
When is that
It comes out next week. It comes out next week.
Oh fuck yeah! It comes out on the 21st of June.
So Toy Story 4.
Okay.
We're doing Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4. Okay.
It does, hey Patreon, you missed out this month, alright? It's Toy Story fucking 4.
Yeah.
We're doing Toy Story 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Toy Story 4 was next, and then it's Spider-Man Far From Home. Sorry, Patreon, you missed out this time.
Yeah.
But I think they also would probably want us to do Toy Story 4.
Yeah, I think so. Hook or Toy Story 4? I mean, that's a tough one.
We can do Hook anytime, but Toy Story 4 comes out this week. It'll already be out by the time this comes out to everybody.
Oh, yeah, it will be. Oh, yeah, I hope Toy Story 4's good.
So do I. But we'll find out, and you'll find out what we think in the next episode of the Cinema Room Podcast. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.